Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host Sana Maqbool with you at PTV World. In today's show, we're going to be taking a look at the very important economic situation of the country, especially in light of the end of mission by the IMF and the staff level agreement that has been reached with regards to the first review of the standby arrangement with the IMF. This means that this is going to pave the way for $700 million more in Pakistan as part of the standby arrangement, of course, subject to the board's review. This is important in terms of the impact that it has created, not just in terms of what the world is perceiving and how the economic outlook of Pakistan is showing, but also in terms of the Pakistan Stock Exchange benchmark, which of course is something that we have seen close at its all-time high, crossing 57,000 points. And this is important also in terms of the rupee's value, which has increased with respect to the dollar. This is important in terms of the kind of recovery that we keep mentioning and the indicators, of course, that are showing the path to economic progress and prosperity. At the same time, of course, it's important to understand how sustainable these gains are and whether or not this is something that we're seeing just in light of what has happened yesterday, or that this is a progress that we're going to be seeing continuing for the next couple of days and months, and something that, of course, the government of Pakistan has been trying to achieve for quite some time in terms of many measures that have been taken in this regard. This also, of course, includes the kind of efforts that the IMF has pointed towards, once again stressing upon a return to a complete market-determined exchange rate and other measures taken in to build more resilience towards the kind of global changes and rise in commodity prices that we have been witnessing. So this is, of course, going to be something that we're going to be looking at in terms of what it means in the short run, and then also in terms of this review also being completed with the board, and then what lies ahead with the remaining part of the standby arrangement, and of course in the aftermath of that as well. For this and more, of course, in the studios, I've been joined by senior analyst Farrukh Pitafi and Raja Faisal, as always. We've also been joined online by Dr. Mahmood Khalid, who's a senior economist, and will be joined by another guest shortly. Thank you very much, Dr. Mahmood, for joining us and being a part of the discussion as well. Farrukh, I'll begin with you with reference to what is going on. We've discussed yesterday also in terms of the staff level agreement with the IMF as part of the first review and how important that is. And you've mentioned that perhaps the board's approval is something that is more of a formality. At this point, we've already seen the impact in terms of the gains at the stock exchange front and the rupee's value. But how sustainable do you think these gains are, and how progressively we'll be able to see better results in these indicators?
Right, Sarah, thank you very much for the question. I think that the most important thing about this regarding these indicators, rupee is surging and then stock market also going through the roof. These actually indicate the customers or the investors' confidence in the indicators of market fundamentals, right? But I would also say that when it comes to stock market, it is a tertiary indicator. Because its spread is too thin, too little, too small. And then when you talk about the rupee situation, that also you saw when IMF's program was here, when their representatives were here. At that time, the rupee came under pressure. So this is like breathing, a sigh of relief that things have improved. So with that kind of a situation, I think that the actual indicator is not these two things, but IMF's approval or at least this technical agreement, right? Staff level agreement that actually indicates that Pakistan has passed in the semester, so to speak, right? With this kind of situation, I think that our indicators are right, our fundamentals are right. We are trying to fix the problems that have been systemic and endemic to an extent. And we are trying to ensure that our fiscal deficit and our current account deficit also go down. Now, the biggest problem here is that, in the current situation, the way we have actually kept the interest rate high, that is, business prohibitive, so to speak. 22% is too high. It was, I think, mentioned by Nawaz Sharif also today in an interaction. So my humble submission is that eventually, given that this is also a recommendation of the fund, we'll have to start relieving it so that the economy can take off. If you're going to get 22% of profits, Sana, in your money that is parked in a bank, why would you actually bring that amount out and start investing in projects that might not actually give you as much profit, or for that matter, even if that it does, it might not actually be risk-free. So with that kind of a situation, I think that our direction is correct. We have committed to various things, and I hope in coming days we can accomplish that. But with that, of course, sustainability of these indicators, rupee strengthening of stock market going up, these are momentary or fickle-minded kind of indicators. So I wouldn't pay much heed to them, but I will pay heed to what the fund has done and how we have accomplished it.
Right, absolutely. Let me also welcome in the studios in our debate Mr. Ashraf Malkham, who's a senior journalist. He's joined us online. Thank you very much, Ashraf, for being a part of the discussion. We're going to be taking a look at, of course, the kind of indicators that we've seen at the stock exchange and the rupee's value. And I want to understand, when we take a look at how these are impacting the economic situation of the country, we've just discussed that perhaps these are not indicators that are showing the actual strength or progress that is needed in the country. What do you think, in your opinion, has been the impact in terms of the numbers that we've seen at the stock exchange today?
So
Ashraf, are you with me? Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, go ahead.
Well, this is okay. Our stock market has performed very well. It touched the historic 7,000 points today. But the finance minister gave a very candid briefing today. The important thing which she said, and we noticed, is this is the macroeconomic. Macroeconomic stability is must for the economy, and we need to stay in program for a longer time. We will be in need of program. As soon as the present program finishes, we have to go for the new program. Well, fine. The issue is the present situation in which all indicators look fine. Is it okay for the economy? Can, on the basis of these indicators, we can say our economy is performing well, or has improved, or has stabilized? No, not at all. We need to go long way. The corrections of last 50 years, the wrongs of our last 50 years cannot be corrected in just 1 or 2 years. It needs a long time and continuity of policy, which everybody is saying and everywhere. Most important thing is we have to take the decision after proper consultation, discussing with all stakeholders, especially as far as the SOEs are concerned. Similarly, then our growth rate, we have to take very good care at which pace we can develop and we should develop, and which area should we concentrate for the development of the country. This is what the IMF is asking them. We have to go for the program. If we go with the recommendations of the IMF program, I'm not sure if economy can improve, but we ourselves have to do it. The thing which we need urgently and suggested by the IMF program is that we should have reforms in the tax collection machinery. We should build their capacity. We should increase our tax net. This is a major requirement which we want to do, and political government, to certain reasons, could not do. Second thing is we have to improve the governance. We have to introduce a very effective, transparent system to check the corruption, to stop the mismanagement, to stop the bad decisions. These are things which are the really need of not need of the time, and they are must for our economy. These are the things which IMF is pushing again and again, just to getting known from the IMF, putting in some certain trade sectors for a very short time. Indicators go well, as witnessed today. Stock market performed well. Rupee gradually, little bit, just 70 pesos gained as compared to the US dollars. But these indicators cannot say that our economy is on the right path. We need to go long way, keeping these reforms continuous process, putting the system in place and checking very good as clear that the job is taken right decision taken after consultation with all stakeholders.
Right, absolutely. And these are, of course, important aspects. Let me also welcome Dr. Mahmood Khalid, who's joined us on Skype. Thank you very much, Dr. Mahmood, for being part of the discussion as well. And we keep referring to, of course, major decisions and aspects that need to be taken, especially in terms of reforms with regards to tax collections and others. And then there's, of course, what the IMF is also emphasizing on in terms of what is happening with regards to the exchange rate and the kind of measures that need to be taken to build resilience to global changes. And these are big efforts towards what is needed in Pakistan and difficult in terms of achieving and actually gaining progress. At the same time, while we are celebrating what is happening on the stock exchange, what is then the way forward in terms of what we're really targeting and the kind of action that needs to be taken that requires perhaps much more strength and a lot of tough measures?
Well, to first of all acknowledge that the IMF is happy with us because the structural benchmarks which they had asked us to achieve have been mostly achieved, and they have specifically identified that the efforts which has been made by the caretaker government is also in the right direction. But as you have just also mentioned, that the long overhaul which the economy actually needs is going to take certain time to mature, and it needs certain fundamental changes. We have to actually remember that this is an SBA just for 9 months. So for any targets which are set for the 9 months have been met well, but the long run overall economic requirements in terms of improving the tax policy, the investment climate, as Farrukh has already mentioned, and above all, the way the governments are basically run, the governance system, the efficiency of the government spending, that has to improve. Some of the things the IMF has also mentioned in their communique, in which they have said that the government has actually agreed upon to implement the SOE triage report, which actually mentioned that the SOEs has to be marked first whether you would like to retain them, you would like to privatize them or liquidate them. So there was a requirement of doing some in-depth analysis where we could actually earmark that which particular SOE can be classified in these and how we need to market it. So the fundamentals are going in the right direction, but there is a lot of homework which needs to be done, both for this SBA to move forward, as well as to think about how we can recover back to a projection which actually our regional economies are achieving. So we have to do something over and above in terms of what is required.
Right, absolutely. Faisal, these are, of course, really important aspects of what is going on and what is needed. At the same time, of course, we see that the country is moving towards elections, and that there's a lot of political changes that are expected. And we've talked about continuity previously as well in terms of policies that need to be taken, especially with regards to the standby arrangement and then in the aftermath of that as well. And as Dr. Mahmood was saying, perhaps the first review, of course, is something that shows that we're heading towards the right direction. But how will we be able to ensure that the same direction is followed in the future as well?
Yeah, that's a very tricky question, and we have been highlighting it in our show time and again that, of course, the sustainable policies of Pakistan, especially regarding to Pakistan's economy, the steps must be taken. And of course, any government that is coming in future, they must understand that the steps which are being taken by this current interim setup, they are in the best interest of Pakistan's economy as well as Pakistan at large. So I believe that the understanding amongst all of the political parties, that should be there, and all of the political parties, they should be come to terms with it, that fair enough, they can bring on their own policies as well when it comes to economy. But of course, the current policies are the ones which were need of the hour, and of course they need a bit of time frame in which they can obviously sustain it. For Sana, if I honestly speak about how the way forward is, what the way forward is. Of course, since yesterday we have seen that the positive indications are there, but how to keep them going? I mean, we kept on talking that, of course, our friendly countries, friends of Pakistan, of course, they are always interested in helping out Pakistan, but they were also waiting for, this visit of IMF. This would actually put us on a direction in which, of course, we will be able to attract more investments from our friendly countries. At the same time, there is one very important aspect which we need to highlight, that is that in recent 2 decades what we have seen, that Pakistan attracts investments from the overseas Pakistanis in shape of obviously, one is the remittance. Of course, remittance is coming all the time, but the investments which are always attracted, they are related to the real estate sector. Of course, the biggest question marks are raised by the overseas Pakistanis are the ones in which they say, or simply, they get scammed by, few of the real estate owners. I think there must be policies introduced in this sector in which the overseas Pakistanis, they feel secure investing in Pakistan, because this sector has a huge margin in which, of course, overseas Pakistanis, they can bring billions in Pakistan related to this sector. And at the same time, this sector is the sector in which, of course, the tax net, I mean, taxes must be introduced, and the real estate sector is one of the most lowest taxed, or maybe not taxed at all, sector in which government can earn a lot, and obviously that can be a plus factor in the coming future. And at the same time, when we talk about, obviously IMF has also highlighted this, that of course they are looking for macroeconomic sustainability in coming future. In that context, of course, Pakistan needs to push towards obviously enhancing its production in terms of exports, exporting goods. I mean, Pakistan needs to export more to sustain this positivity more and more, and it might take a bit of longer time, but of course Pakistan is on the right track, and I believe this is the best track Pakistan has chosen, and in coming future we can have further positivities out of it.
Right. Farrukh, whenever we talk about these aspects where these changes are required, I get lost in these big words and what really it means in terms of actual tangible action, macroeconomic policies, increasing the tax net, reforms, all is well and good. Yeah. But what does it really mean if you dilute it down to what is needed or the actions that are required, and are we really doing something in that direction?
Oh, right. Sana, I will actually take you to a talk that was given by the current finance minister today while addressing kind of a seminar, concluding a round of a seminar in Karachi, where she actually pointed out the biggest malaise with Pakistan's economy, that how we had sort of let ourselves go. We have stopped diversifying our economic base, our production, the kind of things that we used to do, and we have stopped actually adding value to the product according to time. So much so that my brother Faisal, when he talks about investment opportunities for overseas Pakistanis, the only thing he can talk about is real estate, right? Real estate is property or land. Land is always finite. And the biggest problem is that if you keep on actually selling it only, then there's always going to be diminishing returns. There are better things possible. I mean, this entire region is now attracting a lot of investment in electronic things, in IT, in AI, and even EVs, electric vehicles also. Why is it that we are not doing it? We can, right? Our workers are not nimble-minded people who cannot understand how to actually do these things. We don't lack any resource that either we don't have locally or we can't import. other countries import all the time. So I think this is important. Then she was also talking about restructuring the way the economy is constructed, especially our consumerism, right? Especially that our imports actually offset our exports or the benefits we get. So she was talking about restructuring in a way that it actually contributes to the growth and our economics story. My humble submission is I want to understand what is going to happen to SROs that are there, that appear out of nowhere to provide concession to certain, influential lobbies, and then they never go away. Those SROs are important, and we have to actually restructure the whole thing the way we provide exemptions on imports to a select few, right? But in the end, Sana, a country of 240 million people, a country which has all 4 seasons, a country which has, considerable land and resources at its disposal, which has mountains, which has deserts, which has everything that you can wish for. Why would it get stuck only in the kind of things that we are doing? Because perhaps there was a problem with policy fixation and the way policy is being implemented. I totally am with Malkham Saab when he talks about macro, when he talks about SOEs. We have to actually come up with a very solid plan, and that has to be done. By the way, one last thing, and that is regarding one person that I've been looking for quite some time since we saw India's story, and that is Manmohan Singh of Pakistan. I keep on, looking at people who come in power, make policy, then go away. So Dr. Shamshad Akhtar is one person that I think has proven repeatedly that she can be Pakistan's Manmohan Singh, because the way when she was heading State Bank of Pakistan as governor, then finance minister last time during the caretaker setup, and now the ease with which she actually works with international, organizations, IFIs, the fund, what have you, and the way she instinctively understands our economy is actually a proof that we have a Manmohan Singh. If we want to use her, that is great. If we don't want to, then we'll keep on actually.
And Farrukh, would you recommend that she should be our Prime Minister?
I would, but if wishes were horses, I would ride.
Ashraf Saab, whenever we take a look then at this current situation, the question that of course also arises that there's a lot of effort that is being done or put in terms of problem identification, and even in our discussions we're able to point out areas that need more help, and that there needs to be more action. But in the many ways that we've actually seen decisions being taken or progress being made, do you think that there is any real planning done with reference to the kind of changes both at home and globally in terms of action that is required and actually moving towards bigger steps, such as with regards to SOEs or others with regards to taxing the real estate? Is this something that we are actively planning towards and moving in a way that we can actually at one point in time stop talking about how this needs to be done and actually have an action point?
Yeah, you are right. We're very good in this. With successive governments come and go, and they do some sort of planning, but this a real issue of the economy of the government, of the system is we are not implementing anything. Every government comes, they take a decision, they identify the areas where they need to work, but when the time comes to implement, and the new government comes. New government comes with their own priorities, own thinking, its own planning. Similar situation happening very, very time again and again. Now, we are lucky in one that the time now, right now, we know what are the real issues, what are the problems, how to sort it out. Now, issue is how to go ahead, how to implement. What the Pakistan need to do, which was planned about 10 years ago, we have to develop our SOVs, special economic zones along there are very good. We have very good infrastructure as compared to the world. Our infrastructure is very good. What we need to do, we have to develop our special economic zone from where we can produce something. We can increase our export. We should not be buyers. We should be sellers. Number one thing. Number two, we have to look forward for the real sector growth. With the real sector growth, sale of cars, sale of refrigerators, sale of air conditioners, sale of motorcycles is not a real growth. Real growth is where we produce something and sell it. Second thing comes large-scale manufacturing. Are we paying proper attention to it? No. This is not properly addressed. It looks static since years. For direct investment, looks static since many years. We have to coordinate. We have to approach our friends. We have to approach investors to come in Pakistan, invest in Pakistan, and increase our capacity of manufacturing by investing in large-scale manufacturing. Number two. Number three, our real sector is the agriculture sector, which is called the backbone of the economy. We are known as the agro economy, but we are importing edibles like sugar, oil, sometimes wheat, sometimes other items. Even pulses we are importing. We have to look what we can do, how we can do, utilize our vast agricultural land and water resources, preserve them and reduce them. We should take care how we can avoid the wastage of resources in the agriculture sector, especially water, and the very fertile land is lying unutilized. We have to use it. We have to produce something. Now, we are coming to corporate farming in agriculture sector, but the speed is very slow. If you look in agriculture sector, there is no research, there is no improvement of seeds, there is no new technique how to irrigate our system. Some people are doing personally that they're giving very good results, but at the centralized level, at the institutional level, there is no mechanism where to research, provide the farmers with the best seeds and the latest updated modern irrigation system. We have to introduce such things. It may take time. It may not bring results the next day, but we have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere, sometime. So this is the important thing. We should start implementing the decision for the real sector growth. As we are concerned about the real estate sector, it's totally untapped area. All the black money is invested in this sector. This is a black hole. Money is parked for years without any productivity, without any development. The whole thing is how we can utilize it. We buy banks, we buy plots. On one side, our agriculture sector, our agricultural land is being wasted. On the other side, no housing. We are developing colonies and colonies without houses. We have to take care of the building industry to make the move and country to build houses for the people. These are 3-4 sectors which can really make our economy to move.
Right, absolutely. Dr. Mahmood, when we take a look at the kind of requirements or action points that have been identified by the IMF as well, there's also, of course, a huge role in terms of making sure that we're able to have our multilateral and bilateral engagements prosper and actually see the disbursement actually happen as well. We've seen that the SRC was created as a body to help move and provide progress in terms of bringing in more money in the country and to also capitalize on bilateral engagements. And at the same time, of course, with reference to the kind of position that we're in at the moment, and especially with the review, their efforts have also been credited a lot. And I want to then understand that moving forward in terms of what is needed, especially in terms of our bilateral engagements with different countries, how successfully will we be able to bring in more money within the country when we're also dealing simultaneously with the kind of changes that are required at home or the kind of measures that are needed. Do you think that despite that, Pakistan will be able to put forward an attractive point for the bilateral engagements to actually happen?
Well, it's a slippery slope. We have got I would not say very good, but a very erratic kind of a capital market in which we see that the foreign investment is coming over the last couple of days, especially, and there is the psychological barrier of 50,000 mark has also been breached. But at the same time, what the foreign investment means is that they need to have a security in terms of the paybacks which they are going to make, and especially the commitments which has been made to them should be honored. And in that regard, I think the role of SIFC is very important because that is the institution which is supposed to create a kind of a credibility in all the commitments which are made and provide a kind of a one-stop solution for any kinds of facilitation. Now, having said that, what we need to now do is to develop a kind of a portfolio in which there is going to be a kind of a win-win situation. I'm sure that our policymakers have done their homework in terms of not selling off our assets on a throwaway price, rather creating a kind of a perpetual business environment in which any foreign investment coming in Pakistan should not have a myopic view in terms of taking back all its investment within a few years. Rather, they should be thinking it as a long-term destination, which actually reflects in terms of a country surviving in the coming years for generating the business required for the return, as well as giving them some share in terms of the prosperity. Now, having said that, what I really feel is missing in all the debate is not just on the part of meeting certain benchmarks or thinking about opening up of certain sectors. What actually is needed is to create that environment which is going to sustain that. And we believe that the first fundamental reform which we should really think about is the civil structure or the civil services itself as well, because the system in which we are operating leads to a kind of a system which creates more complexities because of maybe having too many layers of different decision making, or having maybe in certain points the incompetencies as well. Like, for example, we were working with the FPR in the task force. There we identified that there were many processes which could have been improved by internal reshuffling, but until unless there was a kind of a broad reform in the overall structure of the services for the FPR, the same could not have been approached. So we have to think holistically before putting out our options for asking for foreign investment and going forth. So we have to really think through this process, and as rightly mentioned by our colleagues as well, that we need somebody as a visionary person, or if not a person, maybe we can think of a kind of a document which can be developed, which really puts out a kind of a plan for the next 5 years, in which the small steps are taken now so that the fundamentals actually improve. And Farrukh has rightly identified Dr. Shamshad. Whenever we met her, that was her approach. She wanted to deliver something which could actually lead to that domino effect in which the things start improving even after some time. If something is not evident now, can be approached in future as well. So we have to take small steps now and going forth in the future, something which is resilient and futuristic.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mahmood Khalid, regarding that. Let me also ask you, because you actually spoke about throwing away assets at throwaway price, and then you also mentioned taking care of bureaucracy. We understand that bureaucratic reforms are something that have been actually in the pipeline as long as there has been bureaucracy, and that doesn't seem to happen, right? Perhaps that is why SIFC was created. But regarding throwaway prices, that is also important because we remember what happened to steel mills at that time. So do you think that there are lessons about SOEs which are gobbling up so much money that instead of actually tolerating them for too long, we try to find a way to get, offload them even if they are at subpar prices?
Well, actually, as I've mentioned earlier, the IMF has also recognized this, and that's the unfortunate part with the IMF as well, that we make commitments, whether it is IMF or any other lender for that sort, and then we don't follow up or complete that. Way back in 2021, it was supposed that the triage report would be completed and all the homework would be done in terms of laying out the plan on how these SOEs should be converted into a privatization mode or liquidated or even retained. But unfortunately, that was not done. Now, doing the homework and taking the lessons, I think we had many good examples and we had many bad examples as well. The only thing which needs to be taken care of is that the process should be transparent enough so that all the stakeholders are on board and something which can be improved by consultation or providing some inputs by the relevant authorities or by the relevant stakeholders or possibly the bidders. I'll give you a quick example of the Pakistan steel mills. I had a conversation with the Steel Millers Association in Pakistan, and they were all willing to partner with any foreign investor just to create a complementarity as well as taking the ownership of the PSM so that they can also take part in this process. So we have to improvise in terms of thinking that how we can actually gain the best, because we think that it should not be one stop solution, rather it should be a process based solution in which anything which starts off should act like a growth factor which can also improve in terms of having foreign investment, just not in our assets, rather in our businesses as well. Thinking about, like we have talked about the agriculture, there is a lot of room in terms of improving the productivity, making technology based investments. Similarly, going forth, we have many options even in energy markets still, where we can convert to the renewables, and that is something which is needed. You have also talked about the electronic vehicles. We can think of how to move from not just the four wheelers even to the two wheelers, because our maximum population is actually not mobile on four wheels, rather they're moving on two wheels and things like that. So we have to progressively think about the FDI as a solution as well, in which we are trying to create that environment with options for the foreign direct investors to take advantage and become part of this process.
Yeah, Malham Saab, when we obviously talk about SIFC, we know that they are, putting up an excellent work already. If we, look at their 6 months, the previous 6 months, I mean, very hard work they have done. And of course, we can say that they have come up with excellent ideas as well. But do you think that they need to further dig or further exploit the ideas like when we can say that the local investors, they need to be given more importance, and they need to be proposed more incentives when we say that if they are bringing in on their own, bringing in the foreign investors with them in collaboration or joint ventures with them, investing in Pakistan, then there can be incentives for them. So these sort of policies, do you think that SIFC needs to open up more when it comes to these kind of policies so that we can bring in more FDI?
Well, basically, I am totally against the idea of centralization. SIFC, to one aspect, is a good forum. There's the chief executive of the country and other audiences, including the army chief, sit in the council and take some decision and try to implement it, and rather than implement it, they coordinate it. But the other thing is, if every decision is being taken place at the level of the chief executive of the country or other important ministries and the army chief, what the rest of the department will do? They have identified 4 areas where they will work. Out of two are agriculture and mining sector. Both areas are preventive projects. So if everything is being done by SIFC, then what the agriculture department is doing, one the mining and mineral department is doing, one the board of investment is doing. What I push, I will request. I also requested last day when we had lengthy briefing and the role in the CAFC. It's okay. We should meet within once in a month or two to just look after performance, coordinate, and push the things we're going through. But the basic need which we're ignoring time and again, we're not strengthening the system. We're not a strengthening concerned department. We should give them targets to every department after specific time, get a report from it. What have you done? What have you not done? Which has not been done? Why this has not been done? They should be held accountable for this. We bringing everything to the office of the Prime Minister, where the rest of the system will go. One day, Prime Minister office will be tired of her. They are too much burdened. Our office is too heavy. At the lower level, we're not giving proper attention. Everything I will do, I will look after. I will see and do. This is good for the political slogan, but basically this is a direction of our system. We are pushing it more towards the downfall. Okay, CXC should sit there, supervise, just to the role of supervision. Push to the department to rise up, to work, and to get the targets given to them. To that point, I say that CFC should give more attention to the strengthening of the system, to the capacity building of our department. This will bring more good results. This is my take on it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Ashraf, for joining us and being part of the discussion. And thank you, Dr. Mahmood, for being part of the debate as well and talking to us at length about the economic situation and the factors that we need to still consider. And Farrukh, just yesterday you were pointing out many whom you were giving credit to with regards to the current achievement, and I don't remember the particular order.
I can give you the order again.
Sure, but there was, of course, the inclusion of the SIFC and the finance team and the leadership. And I want to understand then, are all of these factors complementing each other, or is there anything that is problematic in terms of what Ashraf was also pointing out, that perhaps the different avenues that we're exploring are running in parallel and not really supporting each other? What is the situation?
Right. Sana, very humbly, let me reiterate what my actual original position is regarding various things, right? I'm a libertarian. I believe in minimum government, right? And I do believe that everything happens at grassroots, right? On ground, right? So my idea of facilitation, if at all that is needed, would be ground up rather than upside down, right? Top to bottom is not something that I like. But I believe that when it comes to SIFC, the whole idea was conceived when Pakistan was trying to attract, investment from various brotherly and friendly countries. And at that time, biggest problem was that your entire system is investment prohibitive, right? So this idea was created. Okay, if you want to come, your investment will be secured, and you will be offered one window. So that is what is happening. But eventually, if you want to have, for example, Gawada-related issues, they have to be heard in Gawada, not in PMO, right? So this is my concern, but my humble submission. But there is another thing also, because Pakistan is in a very rough neighborhood, and Pakistan always had this existential angst. Because of that, Pakistan had to be political in order to be economically solvent, right? And because of that, what has happened is that whenever monies have come, there were conditions. For example, Afghan jihad and war and terror. At that time, we keep on hearing that billions came, and where they went, we don't know. Nobody told us that half the time, most of the monies that came embodied with their own staff, and most of that monies were taken away by the same staff as salaries, right? So what do you need? We cannot tell the investor if they have to be transparent or not. But what we can do is, on our side, whatever money is there and whatever plan is there, make it so transparent that we know, and everybody knows, that every penny that comes to the country is not thrown away or gobbled up by somebody. So this kind of transparency is needed, and I think that can be achieved if we keep on asking for more democracy, more transparency. And let me beg all the media channels, television, news channels, to please revive their economic cells, because right now the kind of discussion and the kind of reporting we see is mindless. It doesn't have any capacity. Pakistan has some of the more, best financial journalists, and they are mostly either unemployed. Some of them are sitting with State Bank or with certain banks because they don't get jobs in private sector media. So if they revive it, I assure you there's going to be enough profit for TV channels also, that they will start reviving business channels too.
All right.
Yes, Anna, just the one-liner, I would fully agree with Farrukh when he says that, of course, all of these, economic journalists and the people, economic analysts as well, they need to be very responsible. Why? Because the investors, I mean, every morning, either they're glued to newspapers or they are, of course, glued to the TV. They are just trying to watch what's going on. And if any negative story that pops up about Pakistan's economy, of course, if they have the mind for investing that day, they might not do it that day. So if they don't do it, then of course it's something which is not positive for the economy.
Okay. Thank you very much, Farrukh, and thank you, Faisal, for joining us. That's all that we have from the discussion with regards to what is happening at the economic front. We are, of course, looking forward in a positive direction after the staff level agreement, and we hope that the remaining part of the SPA is also pursued with full strength, and that we're able to take the measures that are needed to put this country on the right track. That's all that we have from the debate. See you tomorrow.